have also been reduced to street kids in a manner that even the food that they are eating, I've been receiving calls from students from NAST, students from the University of Zimbabwe complaining, students from Tari Polytechnic complaining about the food that they are accessing from the dining hall. They are being treated like animals, where they are being fed with cabbages, half-cooked cabbages, and what has led us to deteriorate to such a level in which students are treated like street kids. So this is the situation that we are confronted with. So what do we need to do as students? So before we close this Twitter space, I'm tempted to believe that we should have agreed on something. We should have agreed on coming up with a clear roadmap and a robust program of action that we are going to take to make sure that we reclaim our dignity as students. Because as students, we do not have to wait for the general election to come so that we demand our dignity in terms of resolving issues like Wi-Fi, in terms of confronting or reaching out to the Minister of Finance. We do not have to wait for an election. We cannot surrender all our rights to the national election. We have other ways of making sure that we leverage and make our issues heard by the authorities. So thank you very much, Comrade SG. I think all the other comrades are coming in. If Tinashe comes in, maybe you can just give me a signal so that I give him an opportunity to speak. And the president of SASU has just joined us, Comrade Bandu. I think you can also give him the mic so that he also shares with us his perspective. I'm sure he watched the documentary yesterday. He can also share with us his perspective from a regional perspective level. I understand the president of all students in SADC region.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for a well-detailed presentation. I think you touched on many issues. You touched on the issue of Wi-Fi. You touched on the issue of our parents, because for us to go to these colleges, universities, it's because of our parents who are civil servants and are underpaid by the same government, which is sending you Angel to loot our God. So our gold. So these thieves in turn, when our parents complain for pay for higher wages, they say to them that they don't have the money. But yesterday we also in front of the millions of Zimbabweans and those abroad, that the money they have, but they are unwilling, or they are unwilling to spend it on education. So comrades, without wasting much of the time, let's broaden our discussion so that at the end of the day we learn from it and we have the steps going forward on how we can confront corruption in the country, on how we can confront the illicit financial flows, and how we can confront the various effects that have occurred in the education sector. I think I will give to Mr. Sean Membere for before giving to the president of Southern Africa Student Union, Mr. Alistair. So, Mr. Sean, you can take us forward.
Thank you so much, Secretary General of SNASU. I would like to register my deep sense of gratitude for inviting me to this Twitter space to share with you my understanding and how best we can mobilize students to fight against corruption and to fight against gold smuggling in Zimbabwe. I would like to thank first the Al Jazeera team who managed to work in investigating the problems that are happening in Zimbabwe. I would like to register my deep sense of gratitude for exposing corruption in our country. Because as you can see, the government of Zimbabwe have been telling us and preaching the gospel that sanctions are an impediment to the economic rise in Zimbabwe, but they are failing to rise the economy. So this Al Jazeera documentary is something that is very good for us to start discussing the issues and to see how best we can manage to fight against corruption. So number one, I want to check through the students on how best they are supposed to work together in engaging each other through every process in Zimbabwe. As you can see, and as you can see, the government officials are the ones who are responsible for everything that is happening in this country. The president of Zimbabwe gave the title of diplomatic passports and diplomatic missions to a prophet, Hubert Angel, who is now responsible. We have been seeing the Al Jazeera team exposing corruption and gold illicit in Zimbabwe. So I am encouraging all the citizens and all the students in Zimbabwe to call these calls for a call to shut down this country at first. After watching the 4 episodes, I am encouraging all the students to join their hands together. We have to fight against corruption. We have to fight against gold smuggling in this country because it is affecting us, the citizens, and our parents at large. They are even failing to give civil servants a fair wage and fair salary to sponsor our education. They are even responsible to sponsor our education because you can see, as of yesterday, we experienced that this country is exporting gold uh, through illegal gold smuggling. So I am encouraging students to make sure that they cooperate, they engage with other students to mobilize so that you can fight against corruption, you can fight against this illicit. I am calling, if possible, that after the 4 episodes are being seen, I would like the students to engage and we fight against corruption by shutting down this country because these thieves and these comrades who are leading this country, they are leaving us in a deplorable situation where we are even failing to have a decent meal in our universities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for a powerful submission. I think you touched on the issue of the students the need for students to be at the center of fighting corruption because we are the beneficiary, we are the primary beneficiary of these resources. So you touched on the issue of our education sector being in shambles because of these resources which were meant to finance the education sector, the resources which were meant to finance the worker, the resources which were meant to make sure that at an institution there is a proper Wi-Fi, to make sure that there is a proper accommodation at an institution. You touched on the need to put a solution to the table and make sure that as the student or as the future or the current leaders of this generation, we protect by all means necessary the what is left, and we call to order those responsible for looting our precious mineral resources. Thank you very much for your powerful submission. I think we'll give the president of Southern Africa Student Union, Mr. Alista, to take us forward through his submissions. Mr. Alista, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you, comrades, Comrade President, Comrade SG, and Comrade Mukono and the collective as NASO leadership for inviting us to such a progressive platform where young people or the academias, the Kurandi of the Republic of Zimbabwe, the crema de la creme of the nation is engaging on the dialectic materialism that is confronting young people in Zimbabwe. It is with sad note that in a time where students, in particular in Zimbabwe, are confronted by a number of realities. Number one being most of them who are enrolled at institutions of higher learning are deferring. Number two, the female comrades, these female students, trying to even sell their bodies so that they meet the material condition of the livelihoods at institutions of higher learning. It is of sad note that in such conditions, which are confronted by the think tank or what I can call the leaders of today and tomorrow of the same republic, are subjected to witness a serious looting by the ruling elites in the form of the gold mafia documentary that was aired yesterday. But what is mostly important is that it is a lesson that now NASO must take the center role to be the vanguard of the society. When we say students are the vanguard of the society, it means that they are the voiceless, or they are the voice of the voiceless. So in such conditions where such corruption and illicit financial flows are shown out, it is that particular moment where student leaders must provide what is called thought leadership and what is called academic way forward to both learners and the society itself. It is disappointing that decisions are made by people who are not even voted to power. A character like Hubert Angel is one person who doesn't even have legitimacy to be called a diplomat because he has never been voted by any individual, any person in the country. And he doesn't even report to the parliament, where we believe that the parliament is the highest authority and decision-making process of the country. So on its own, it gives an evidence and what we can call informed advocacy and an opportunity for ZINASO to start a radical campaign towards the funding of education, the funding of higher health, the funding of exchange programs for learners and funding for research, which is not there in Zimbabwe because it has shown that the money is there, the resources are there, but they are being only monopolized and used by a certain group of the ruling elites. So my submission would be that it's high time that ZINASO takes the center stage, have a serious radical campaign towards prioritization of education, because now you have evidence that Zimbabwe has a lot of resources. Look at the figures that are being talked about. They talk about billions and billions of US dollars being taken out at weekly basis from the country, meaning that you don't to fund education in Zimbabwe. I think you need at least 10 billion. So it's money that is laundered out within 10 weeks. So I think ZINASO must be the vanguard of the society now, in particular at this juncture. And it's the rightful time because it's coming towards the general election. So the students must play the role to conscientize masses on even government renewal project, because you can't vote back people who are corrupt. You can't vote back people who don't have the will to fund and to prioritize the needs of the general students. Because without education, there is no future, and without future, there is no nation. So, in a nutshell, this is my submission. Thank you very much, Comrade SG and Comrade President.
Thank you very much, President, for a well-detailed presentation. You touched on the need for the student movement or the need for the union to be a vanguard of democracy. You touched also on the issue of how the female students are being exploited because of the lack of money to pay fees. It's a sad reality that is happening in our colleges and universities, whereby we call it tie for marks, whereby the lecturers or those with money, the blesser community, comes in and abuse our girl child. It is because of the fact that the fees that we pay are high, they are moronic, very expensive to an ordinary Zimbabwe, very expensive to an underpaid civil servant, very expensive to a pensioner. They are very expensive to our parents, and we have seen that in when we petitioned the government at one point in time, the government said that they don't have money to fund or to subsidize education like what's in other countries, because through research we have learned that in other countries there is free education, and also in our lifetime free education can be achieved, but it can only be achieved when the resources of the state are not abused, when the thieves are not doing what they want with our natural resources. So it is the duty of the union or the duty of every citizen to call to order everyone involved in the looting of our public funds, the looting of our public our resources, the looting of our gold is seen and exhibit, because the exhibit is there on the Jazera for everyone to see. So everyone who is yet to see the Jazera document, the first episode, you can go on YouTube, you can watch the documentary at your own time, and and the main motive of watching the documentary is for you to see how over the years the government is put to the table the narrative that it doesn't have money. It has put to the table the narrative that it doesn't have money to fund the basics, the necessity of a normal citizen or normal student. Basic necessities such as Wi-Fi. It is shown to the nation that it doesn't want to fund education. It is shown to every Zimbabwean citizen that it doesn't care about the education of students. It doesn't care about an educated society. It doesn't care about a society which is a society which is educated, a society which, because it's the education system in Zimbabwe is tend to be a bottlenecking system, whereby those with money are those that progress to attain the skills, to attain the knowledge, to attain the education in this institution. It is in this institution. So but the government is continued to lie that doesn't have money. But we have seen the beneficiary, the gold mafia, the beneficiary, the so-called the prophets, which at one point these prophets would come to the campuses of students, would pretend like they are donating the school fees to the students, while they are giving back our resources. So if you noticed in that documentary, there are words which were said that at one point the one Ubet Angel, I recall Ubet Angel saying that he can sign any deal. I recall at one point, and we doesn't know as a generation, a future generation, and the current leaders of this nation, the current leaders of the region, the current leaders of the world. We don't know what deal has been signed. We don't know, either they have signed a deal to sell us, or we would wake up one day being owned by an unknown someone in the West, because of all these deals that have been made. So it's the duty of the young, conscious student to call them to order. So, comrades, those who would like to add their voice, please request the mic and to let you speak. I've seen we have a lot of people listening to this conversation that we have started. We started this conversation at 6, and the students, the students came and proffered solutions, proffered their perspective on what they think should be done to curb these corruption scandals and mafias that have been masquerading. Some of them has been masquerading as men of God, men of cloth, but it's our future as young people. So as young people, it's the mandate is upon us. As young people, on your own, it's a personal mandate to make sure that you see in your revolutionary conscience how you can act, how we can collectively act at an individual level, how you can act so that we make sure that we clean our country. because the future belongs to us. And we don't even know if these people, if they won't, some of those, they might not be in that future. We are the custodian of that future, so we should guard it jealously as young people and as intellectual, as students from across Zimbabwe. We should make sure that we protect the future. We should make sure that we protect the education system. We should make sure that we protect the learner. We should make sure that we protect the student. We should make sure that we protect the female student. We should make sure that we protect even the lecturer. So because in protection of a lecturer, it means that when a lecturer is happy, when a lecturer is paid the money or the remuneration that he or she deserves, it means that the quality of education produced by Zimbabwe on its own becomes good. We will produce high quality graduates who will be competent, who compete at a greater level in a global scale of education. So, comrades, it is your duty, it is my duty, it is everyone's duty to make sure that we call to order those responsible or those who will be fingered in all these scandals. And I have seen comrades. I think Comrade Tinashe requested the mic. Comrade Tinashe, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Comrade Tinashe? Oh, Comrade Shona, you can speak. You can speak your perspective as a student, your perspective on the Jazera document and how we should move forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, leaders. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak at a platform that is full of... Hello, I can hear you perfectly. How are you? Okay, sorry. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak at a platform that is full of intellectual people, a place that we can share ideas to move. Yesterday, when I watched the documentary, the first thing that got into my mind was the girl child. Now you're seeing the girl child selling her body, doing the most, for a lack of a better word, hideous things, so that she can be able to provide for herself at university, so that she'll be able to pay for her own university. It got to me yesterday to a point that I was about to get depressed. I started thinking about the civil engineer at University of Zimbabwe. I started to think of the civil engineer at MSU, the civil engineer at all the polytechnics, Harare Polytechnic, Kwekwe Polytechnic. I started to think these guys are using theodolites that were bought in 1997. While today we are using Topcon theodolite DT307L with laser pointer, the best theodolite in the world. Some institutions around the world are using this theodolite. I'm seeing the schools using total stations that were bought ages ago. Whilst now there's Leica tablet total station that can follow you wherever that you're going. I started to think about the beds that we were sleeping in at Harare Polytechnic, beds that were bought in 2002, 1999, and we are still sleeping on these beds. So I was really hurt to think that all this money can be used to revamp our institutions. Every institution right now in Zimbabwe is what we call substandard. The once best university in Africa is now sitting at 1,190 in the world. That's just sad. And to see our fathers, the people who say, we fought for you, we fought for our freedom, for your freedom, we fought so that you can have free education, we fought so that you can live. You cannot live, you dream and be whatever that you dream of. This is why we fought for you. But these are just words to them. The actions are vice versa. So I was really depressed. So I want us as as students to fight for what is ours, for the youth to rise up and stand. Enough is enough. We have had enough of you old madalas. We have had enough of you lying to us. That's what we want us to do. We need to go into the streets. They need to hear us. We are tired. We are tired of going to Twitter spaces, going on Facebook, complaining. They need to see our action on the ground. We need to go out there and show them. So right now we just have to wait for the 4 documentaries to come out, and our leaders will tell us the next move. But what I think is for us to go outside there, we need to tell them what we are, what we stand for. We stand for a brighter Zimbabwe. We stand for a Zimbabwe where students are paid to go to school. We stand for a Zimbabwe where our tertiary institutions are the best in Africa and are the best internationally. They need to talk about Midland State University as the best university in Africa. They need to talk about Lupani State University as the best state in Zimbabwe. That's what we stand for as youth. That's what we stand for as youth, and we need to fight for what's ours. So right now, the first fight that we have to accomplish, the first fight that we have to finish is to go register to vote. The blitz is ending on 26 March. So if you are not yet a registered voter, start the fight by registering to vote so that we can vote this crook out. We need leaders that are patriotic. Our leaders are clearly not patriotic because they are not for us. They are clearly against our offer. They are clearly against our educational freedoms, against our human rights. When you speak out, they say, watumwa nevarungu, urimutengesi, and yet they are the one that are selling the country. And yet they are the one that are making us suffering. More than 51% of the population in Zimbabwe is living under extreme poverty. And there's this guy who's saying, I can bring 1.2 billion in a briefcase. And nobody will ask you. And nobody will ask you. And yet the country is just going down and down and down and down. Our railway system was once the best in Zimbabwe, but we no longer have it. We can no longer talk about it. But these guys are bringing in $5 million a week, $10 million a week, $8 million a week. So we need to fight as students. We need to stand up. We organize ourselves. We need to go into the streets and give them what we stand for. And we stand for a better and a new great Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, leaders, for this opportunity. This is what I had in mind. Back to you, SG.
Hello, colleagues. Am I audible? Colleagues, I'm waiting for your confirmation to see if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. I think you have raised the powerful motion. You have raised how the illicit financial flows has destroyed the education sector. You have raised, we have discussed the perspective of a female student. You came in with an angle of saying that in the laboratories, the students are using old and very, very old instruments. While some men of cloth is abusing our resources, our gold, and you came in with an angle whereby the young people should register to vote. I hope everyone in this space is a registered voter. We need to encourage each other as students. We need to encourage each other as conscious Zimbabweans that we need to exercise our right and vote those who vote out those who are stealing our natural resources, vote out those who are stealing our gold, vote out everyone involved in these mafias, because we need to make sure that our generation, our future is safe. We need to safeguard our education. I think I have seen Comrade Passable, Comrade Passable. Thank you very much. You can speak or you can give your perspective. Hello, Comrade Passable.
SG of okay. First of all, we should know that before we are students, we are citizens of the country. And also, it is our mandate as students and as youths to note about these kind of disappointments that are from the government. Because if we remain silent and not take action to this kind of corruption, it is us, the students, the youths, that are at huge disappointments, and we are the ones who gave their negatives of the effects of this Jazera documentary. Because if you don't speak, you die, and if you remain silent again, you die. So it's better for you to speak and die until the messages reach the people. Because if you know, someone in this country was born in this country and even died without even getting, if we add up the wages or the pay that person has got up to the lifetime that person lived, has not even reached $5 million, but someone is getting $5 million in a week and individually, and that is very heartbreaking. And we call for the students to stand up for their rights, because we are the future generation of this country. Because we cannot say that someone is getting 5 million and yet we don't even have a currency in our country. They print papers and say it's money, and instead of the economy to grow, inflation is growing, and their table is full with lots to eat, but we don't even have a table before considering what to put on the table. And we should not remain silent, because it's like it's the government that is colonizing their own people. The difference now is just that the colonizer is now a black person colonizing his own people. So we should stand up for our rights as students and as citizens of the country, not remaining silent when our parents are earning peanuts and eating the shells. And when it's either in the country you're an unemployed graduate or you're a school dropout, even if you take 4 years to get your degree. After getting your degree, after attaining your degree, you are just sitting in the streets, roaming around the streets, and not even having a source of income. So we should not be silent as students, because we should not normalizing things that are abnormal. There's someone who once told me that we are normal to this lifestyle, normalizing poverty. So we should not normalizing the abnormal, because this corruption is not like Zimbabwe. We don't have the resources. We have the resources, but the resources are in one's hands. So we should stand up for the resources to be distributed to everyone. Everyone should benefit from the resources, because we are all citizens of the country. Because we are all citizens of the country, not to consider our country as a place where lawbreakers are considered as law abiders and law abiders are considered as lawbreakers. We should stand up for our rights, like as I'm representing students, the female students. It should not be it's normalizing that you should gain your income or your accommodation money, your food money from blessers. It should be demanded of our parents who will be earning fair wages for us to be able to attain the basic needs that will be needed at school, not depending on other people's parents, other people's fathers. I like the song that was sang by Winky D when he said that now girl students think that the life is in the beauty of their face, and yet it should be like that. We should be independent, not dependent on others. Thank you very much for giving me some time, Comrade SG Joseph.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a well-detailed presentation. You touched on the female students and how the illicit financial flows have affected the female students, how it has resulted in ties for marks, how it is resulted in the various ills which are affecting the female students on campus and off campus. Thank you very much, Comrade Passable. I think you touched the things that you touched were very fundamental because it has destroyed these gold mafias have destroyed our education system, have destroyed everything that we stand for, have destroyed our future, have destroyed, they've done a lot of deals under a lot of deals. Some of them were exposed, some of them are yet to be exposed. But what we have noted from this is that the consensus around the students is that we should act. The consensus around the young people is that the young people should rise up because these are the custodians of the future which is being destroyed. What has been raised collectively by us today in this Twitter space is that we need action, action, and action only. What has been raised by all of us is that we need to call to order those responsible for corruption. We need to call to order those men of cloth those men of cloth who were masquerading as men of God, yet they are men of gold, to order and say them enough is enough. We need as young people to make sure that we own our future. We need as young people to make sure that we bring back those resources so that they are plowed back to the education. We need as young people to make sure that we protect the future. We need young people to make sure that these resources are used for the subsidy of education so that our education in our lifetime can be free. It can be free. So thank you very much, comrades. We have noted all the concerns on the students in Zimbabwe. It was nice having this space because it enabled or it has opened our eyes. Number one is an institution. Number two is an individual. Number three is a nation. Number four is a region or is a member of the globe. It has opened our eyes to the need for action. It has opened our eyes to the need to protect the quality education. It has opened our eyes to the need to make sure that we prevent the illicit financial flows. Thank you very much, comrades. All right. Thank you very much, comrades. I think I will give Comrade Tapiwa Lukuta to say one or two words concerning the topic that we had. Comrade Tapiwa. Comrade Tapiwa.
Okay, thank you very much, Comrade SG. and all the comrades and fellow students who gathered on this Twitter rally so that we discuss and as well come up with solutions to the problems that we are currently confronted with. The major issue being the issue of corruption, the corruption that has crippled our own economy, the corruption that has resulted in students being reduced to street kids, the corruption that has resulted in teachers in this country, in nurses or civil servants being reduced to paupers. If you look at the salaries that they are earning currently. Yes, Tapua? You can unmute yourself and speak before I close. I was about to close, but maybe you can speak and give us your opinion. Comrades meet Comrade Tapua. She's a student leader from Zambia. She's a vibrant student leader from Zambia, so she can also give us her perspective. She came in late, but she can share with us her views before we close the space.
Sure. So sorry. I noticed that I had a problem with my mic, but I'm glad that at least I'm a bit audible. And sorry again for joining late. My 2 cents on this topic. I don't even know where to start, but I'll just say that the documentary has been one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. It's quite heartbreaking to see potential right in front of you, the potential for the country to actually make revenue that is tangible, and seeing it, go into hands of people who'd rather, splander all this money on themselves and for just selfish needs. It's more than disappointing. It's heartbreaking, to say the least. But looking at it from the point of view of students, I think this, in fact, even before the documentary was released, I think the best tool that students have at this point is solidarity. We have to realize that in all of this chaos and all of this that is going on, young people tend to be the most manipulated in a demographic. When it comes to these kind of schemes. Young people are the ones who stand to lose out the most, and they're the ones who are the most manipulated. If I'm to just think about those who actually are involved in the illegal mining, who actually do the gold mining, the illegal mining, it's young people who are doing this. It's not just anyone, but it's young people who are desperate, young people who are hungry, and young people who really don't know what to do to make their situations better. But I feel that if we wake up and realize that we're actually the ones who are being manipulated in this scheme, it will make it, then the chances of there being a difference are much higher. So especially for student leaderships, young people still stand to be the largest demographic. In almost every African country, you are the majority. We are the majority, rather. And if we realize that even within the student leadership, within or amongst the student bodies or student parties that are there, that there are always these mechanisms of divide which are planted in to make sure that young people do not come together. We need to be awake to those schemes as well. But if young people come together, despite whether it's ZINASO, whatever it is that you're part of, and realize that at the end of the day, I stand to lose out more if at the end of the day. So it's better that we come together, we act in solidarity, and we make action steps, that are feasible. There are protests that have been going on. I think for the past week, Kenya had protests, young people protesting in Kenya. We had young people in South Africa protesting. These things are happening. This is the best time. Such rallies are very important, but this is the best time for young people, whichever party you belong to, it doesn't really matter. But if we come together, we put our hands together, and we actually stand for what is right, I think we stand a better chance of making a difference for our generation.
Thank you very much. It was a well-detailed presentation. I think in ending this space, I would give the national spokesperson to give closing remarks. But tomorrow we are going to release a communique which detail the points, because I was taking the points that everyone was talking, and we need to make them into action points so that we can make action and informed advocacy on the illicit financial flow and how they've affected the education system of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much. Over to you, spokes.
Hello everyone, am I audible?
You are very audible.
Okay, thank you, SG. Good evening to you all. Thank you, the students who have come to this space. Thank you, the youths and everyone who has managed to be part of this space. To those who contributed, we would like to thank you as NAS. We would like to thank you as an institution. It is very key and important students and for us as youths to be at the forefront when such things happen, the illicit flow of money, the illicit flow of resources around our country, where we are languishing, where our parents are failing to pay the fees, where these fees are tagged, the exorbitant fees are tagged, but we hear such that God is being moved out in such a way in our country. So, as students, it is now it is now important for us to move emotion, to move a force, to claim what needs to be done in the education sector, to claim what needs to be done for the Zimbabwe, to claim what needs to be done for the citizens and students at large. So we would like to thank everyone who has been part of this space. We invite you to more spaces to such like this, so that we will be able to enlighten one another. We will be enabled to enlighten the society of what's happening and what actions to take when we have such situations. So, as the torch bearers of societies, I'm sure as we are going off from this space, we are going to educate our our fellow friends, our fellow families, our fellow brothers and sisters who couldn't be on this space, on what's happening and what actions we are going to take. So until next time, stay blessed, stay safe. Thank you very much.